this is Blair Barnhardt, founder and executive director of the International Pavement Management Association, with your tip of the week. And I've got Brian Frix with me from Rockdale County to talk to you about
It's time for your IPMA tip of the week, where we teach pavement managers just like you how to do more with less. Here's your host, Blair Barnhardt.
Heater scarification? Did I guess it?
Yes.
Did I guess it?
That's right. Brian has been a big advocate of the three-legged stool. He's done plenty of bids for microsurfacing and some of the other surface treatments and a lot of the other in-place asphalt recycling. In Georgia specifically, we've seen the full-depth reclamation take off for several years now, Brian. I'd say that's a mainstay in the industry now. But what we're seeing is a sudden surge for counties just like Brian to do the surface recycling. That's one of the three sub-disciplines. Remember, we've got the resurfacing, remixing, and the repaving operations, and part of that group of hot-in-place sub-disciplines is the reheat process. But today, Brian's going to talk to you specifically about his experience with surface recycling, hot-in-place recycling here in the Rockdale County.
Well, first of all, if you compare, do a cost analysis on the heat scarification versus milling and inlay or mill and overlay, you're going to find that the heat scarification is much more cost effective, number one. Number two, it's eco-friendly. Obviously, that's a big deal, for all you green folks out there. Yep.
I mean, we're saving trees and we're saving carbon footprint because
absolutely.
We're not hauling. Well, first of all, we're not making a whole bunch of new asphalt, a
absolutely.
bunch of new rock.
Right.
That's a big part of it. And we're not burning diesel fuel to get a whole bunch of new material to the job site, right?
That's correct. And the other thing is it's a really fast operation. It's a single pass operation. Heats the road back up, melts the asphalt. It adds some asphalt rejuvenating agent to it, and provides a year to 3 years of crack mitigation, depending on your underlying structure.
Okay. In advance of the surface recycling operation, just wanted to point out a couple of best practices here in terms of this particular project. This is a 4-lane undivided collector, I guess you would say. Probably 30,000, 40,000 cars a day out here. The manhole frame and grates have remained exactly in place. So once the hot-in-place surface recycling has been done and the 1 1/4 inch has been placed, riser rings or adjustments will be made to the manholes. But what I want to point out here is that along the gutter line, both edges, these drive lanes have been taper milled. So we've gone from 1.5 inch on the gutter pan here out to 0, just as we get close to the first 12-foot division here. The two center lanes, environmentally distressed, block cracking, a lot of weathering and the likes of that. The mix is pretty much on the fine side with all these southeastern mixes, it seems, as opposed to maybe some of the coarser mixes that I see in the northeastern region. In any case, as you'll notice when we do the surface recycling down here, we'll have the travel lanes on both sides of the gutter back down to the original grade to allow for the 1 1/4 inlay. And notice I say inlay, so in terms of best practices, when we talk about milling these edges down and putting a mix into the milled area or the void space, we call that a mill and inlay as opposed to a mill and overlay. This hot-in-place surface recycling, in this case, the contractor is Gallagher for the hot-in-place and the contractor C.W. Matthews for the inlay. But the point is that because we're using 3 or 4 inches of 19mm binder, we'll have a really good structure underneath for the surface recycling. However, if this was going to be an HA5 or a microsurfacing on top as opposed to a 1.5 inch overlay or 1.5 inch inlay, you'd probably be best to go with a 12.5 or even a 9.5mm patch in that area there that's been milled and deep patched. So
you got to patch all your structural deficient areas on the roadway, which we did with a local contractor, and then the out-of-town contractor Gallagher Asphalt came into town, and there are others out there. I'm not advocating just for them, but there are others out there, depending on where you're at in the United States. But they came into town, heat scarified this road right here. And then we had our local contractor come back with hot mix. Now that's not the only surface treatment you can put back on this. Right. We've got microsurfacing as an option as well. and another treatment that we've kind of been recently looking into, an HA5, which is a high density mineral bond. Okay. You know, we're considering that as well. You know, we are letting another contract here in the next few months where we are going to heat scarify some roads, and we will be microsurfacing those roads or even providing a hot mix over the top. So there are options out there depending on your budget, and I'm sure that's a big issue for everyone out there is you know, how to save money.
Well, and I think a lot of times people really, they just keep doing the same thing over and over, and nothing against, I mean, the other county engineers out there, Brian. I mean, they just maybe don't know of anything different. Look at us, unless we're out there on the front edge with IPMA trying to learn all these new techniques, how would we keep up?
That's correct.
You know, you got to feel for these people that they don't know all the different options. I'm so glad you're here today to discuss one of those options. And again, this is only one tool in the toolbox.
That's correct.
I mean, if you look at IPMA Academy, we talk about this stuff for 70 or 80 hours online, but you know, in this 5-minute session for IPMA Tip of the Week, one thing, surface recycling, could save you upwards of $1 million this year, Brian.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're looking right now at 30%, but you know, 30% of $1 million, that's quite a bit of money.
Absolutely. So in recapping here, just so you guys know, in Georgia, hey, what's up? In Georgia alone, and I know this is going on in states all across America, but specifically in Georgia over the last 3 or 4 years, I think we've got upwards of 75 miles of roadway at the county and the city level done with the surface recycling hot in place recycling method. What we have here is the surface recycling hot in place operation. In this particular example, we've got the 2 units. We've got one preheater and a heater unit with the integral screed, the paving screed attached to it. So the first unit is going to heat that asphalt up to about 270 degrees Fahrenheit, and the second heater is going to heat the asphalt up again sequentially to about 330 to 340 degrees Fahrenheit, at which time the tines can get in there, the spring-loaded tines. The rejuvenating agent can be added with the rotary spinner cups, and at that point the material is lubricated with the rejuvenating agent, softened with the sequential heating. Now remember, we don't want to go heat things up too quickly, like we don't want to roast a marshmallow over an open fire on a campsite like instantaneously, because it'll burn. But if we gradually heat it, then we soften up that asphalt and introduce the rejuvenating agent into the final sequence of heaters. Now, when we're doing extra depth or in colder climates or in wet conditions, the contractors may elect to bring in a third and maybe even a fourth preheater unit and spread that train out. For this particular example is a single preheater followed by a heater unit, which is all within, I'm going to say, about 100 or 110 feet of area that they're taking up. So you can see this is a 4-lane undivided collector with about 30 or 40,000 cars a day on it.
Also,
and in terms of traffic, I think it's worth noting here that we got 30 or 40,000 cars a day. You don't seem to have any upper limit to the roads. In other words, there's no cutoff point here in Cobb.
No,
for the hot and
not at all. No. But it's working out really well. We're pleased with it. Okay. Pilot project was in 07.
That's a long time.
Driving around. We did a pilot project, 50,000 square yards, overlaid it, and to this day there's no problems whatsoever.
So that's my math is first thing in the morning and all. So 6 years.
6 years. This summer it will be 6 years.
So this summer will be 6 years. The same type of. Except it wasn't milled, was it? Or was it curb milled?
It wasn't milled. It was a curb subdivision.
Okay.
And we actually just went the surface course and took all that out instead of patching. So we saved all those patching dollars.
Yeah.
It was a subdivision that was alligatored. It was stressed, but we didn't have any deflection or any base failures. Okay. So it was an ideal candidate for that. But
no reflective cracking in a subdivision street. You know, we still have the busy trash compactor trucks and the Home Depot trucks and the likes of that going through these subdivisions here. And usually, so you know, if you're not from the southeast, a lot of times these subdivisions, Mike, they only have one means of egress, one means of cars coming in and out. So that's a pretty good testament if you've got very little, if any, crack mitigation, cracks coming up after 6 years.
And, and you don't have all the the trucks and the milling crew in and out of the neighborhoods.
That being said, I don't think we're here to, in fact, I always say I think we're actually going to, if we adopt the three-legged stool, we'll actually get more hot mix for the contractors to put down, because you'll be able to stretch your budget that much further.
Well, not every road's a candidate for this process, and so
Right.
you've got to know which is good and which is not. And so we do rely on our contractors to assist. We've got two of the largest paving contractors in the southeast that are headquartered right here in Cobb County. And this is going through those paving contracts. Those contractors are the prime, and so you can use this. We've got a spec written.
Okay.
We put a line item in the bid, and so we leave it to the contractor to select who they want, so long as they're approved and
Right.
you know, in the industry. So
Awesome. Well, in wrapping up, thanks so much for joining
Sure.
us, Mike. And you'll probably get emails from people from all over the world with IPMA Academy learners and all. And I encourage you guys, you know, get on the email. Mike will give you his email address here in a second, and just get on there and contact him and ask him any questions. That he's already been through this for the last 5 or 6 years. So if you're just jumping into any of the recycling techniques, I think Mike is a great candidate for question and answer periods. I'm sure that along the way he's learned a few things or two, and I think we're all learning in this business, Mike, on a regular basis. What advice or what words of wisdom might you have for a county in a similar situation with you, with, you know, a couple of maybe, well, in his case I think he only has one paving contractor locally. They want to keep them involved in the loop, but they also want to branch out and do things that are more cost effective and eco-efficient. What words of advice would you have for a county such as that?
And again, it depends on the streets that you're looking to do. And again, this is a great process. Most of our roads, our candidates would support this process. There are areas that, if you've got base failures, if you've got other problems, you don't need a surface treatment. You need to mill it up and replace it.
Right.
There are areas that otherwise can, if they've never been paved and it's just a light overlay, you may not need anything but an edge mill if it's curbed. So there are a lot of different scenarios, but it's definitely something Cobb County has adopted. We're going to keep it in the program. You know, Cobb is got a very aggressive multi-year paving program under our SPLOST, and a large percentage of our SPLOST, upwards of $100 million, is dedicated to resurfacing and rehabbing our streets.
Would you mind giving the learners your email address?
Email is mike.lehner, Lehner, at Cobb County, that's one word, .org. Mike.lehner at cobbcounty.org. And you can call me in my office, 770-528-3681.
And traffic control is running quite fine. Again, sequentially heating that asphalt, gradually getting it introduced to the screed and the spring-loaded tines, where it can be scarified with the spring-loaded tines and then compacted as conventional asphalt would be compacted. Now again, just as a reminder, we're in the outside lanes here that have already been milled by the contractor, which in this case was C.W. Matthews. And as a result, those outside lanes are going to turn out to be ever so slightly coarser because of the underlying 19 millimeter stone. But once in this case, the Gallagher Asphalt is this subcontractor to C.W. Matthews, this surface recycling contractor here, they're going to actually get out here in these two middle lanes and produce a very fine mat, similar to that of a brand new asphalt, which is all going to be the leveling course. And you heard Mike talk about this from Cobb County and Brian from Rockdale County. This is going to provide an excellent crack mitigation layer to the underlying cracks and just increase the life and basically ensure that this asphalt overlay, this 12.5 millimeter overlay, which incidentally the contractors have been using a shuttle buggy to put down, so it's going to be an incredible ride out here with a very durable asphalt for long service life. Let's go take a closer look here.
Well, that goes to show you, you know, it's making its way here to the southeast. More and more individuals and municipalities, agencies are finding the value in this, and you know, I think it's coming. You know, it's going to make its way, and more people are going to start investing in this, and you know, more of the locals are going to have to figure out how to bring this equipment to their operations.
You just don't have enough money to go around anymore at the county level, do you?
That's right, exactly.
Not saying you ever had enough to begin with, but one thing for certain, Brian has done a great justice to his county by doing the pavement management, the pavement evaluation, pavement preservation, and in-place recycling. Kudos to you.
That's right.
And for those of you who don't know this, Brian also sits on the IPMA advisory board. So for all of you IPMA Academy learners listening in, Brian will be one of the people reviewing your IPMA Academy certification for APM. But in any case, just wrapping up, Brian, if anyone's back at home watching the tip of the week, if they have any questions that are sitting on the fence, what advice would you have for them?
Well, you can feel free to shoot me an email. If you have any questions that Blair hasn't covered, or you just like a little more information on the heat scarification process, my email address is brian.frix at rockdalecounty.org, and of course Blair's always an excellent resource.
BlairHitma.co.
There you go. So either one of us.
I don't think they want to hear from me anymore.
They don't. Okay.
They want to hear from the real people.
Well, hey, I'd be glad to provide any help I can. We've certainly had our help along the way.
Great. So anybody needs help or questions putting their bid documents together, Brian's been a great resource to all the people here in the Southeast. Thanks so much for that, Brian.
No problem.
And thanks for joining us today on the IPMA Tip of the Week. We'll see you guys next time. This is Blair and
Brian Frix. Thanks.
Signing out. Bye now.